Developing tonight, the White House jumping in with Democrats attacking the integrity of Americans who have come forward to talk about the very real impacts of Obamacare on their lives. First, listen to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and colleagues on Wednesday.
There's plenty of horror stories being told. All of them are untrue, but they're being told all over America.
In addition, the parade of horrible stories trotted out by the haters of this bill will prove not to be true.
Began to hear the Republican horror stories about these exchanges and about coverage under the Affordable Care Act. And as we've seen, many of those horror stories turned out to have been invented.
Now today, the White House piling on.
Individuals who have had problems with the Affordable Care Act, and again, reporters have discovered that, in fact, the circumstances are not as they're being presented.
Many Americans taking issue with those remarks, and the Republican Communications Office releasing more than 100 Obamacare horror stories that are now in question, including the Cincinnati Enquirer reporting on a Kentucky mother who also lost her policy and complained about not being able to get any straight answers on whether her son's specialists were covered under the new plan. The Associated Press reporting on a New Hampshire doctor who just found out her hospital is not covered by the only Obamacare insurer in the entire state. And right here on Fox News, reporting on the New York woman diagnosed with breast cancer, whose potentially life-saving surgery has reportedly been postponed after she lost her doctors. Now the White House joining Democrats hitting the Republican Communications Office and suggesting those people are liars. Mark Thiessen is a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush and a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. All right, Mark, millions of Americans know the truth about what's happened to them. The Democrats, can they possibly think they're endearing themselves to any of these people? And the fact that those people don't exist? I mean, reality is reality.
No, exactly right. I mean, let's get this straight. Barack Obama lied to the American people about Obamacare. Every single Senate Democrat who's running for re-election this year told the exact same lie. And their strategy to regain the trust of the American people is to call the American people liars. I mean, have they lost their minds? I mean, I hope, as someone who wants to see Obamacare repealed, I hope every Senate Democrat follows these talking points. Let them say it from here until November. Because the fact is, as you pointed out, this is not a problem with one or two horror stories in a television ad. Millions of Americans are living the horror story of Obamacare. 6 million people got cancellation letters. Then even if they scrambled to get their coverage at the end, they went through hell. Are they liars? They're living Obamacare horror stories. If you lost your doctor or your hospital because of Obamacare, you're living an Obamacare horror story. If your premiums went up when they told you they were going to go down, you're living an Obamacare horror story. So their problem isn't these ads. Their problem is that millions of Americans are having personal contact with Obamacare, and the polls show that the more they learn about it, the less they like it.
I mean, what the Senate Majority Leader said, Harry Reid, on the floor was that these were all lies. He said they don't pan out, none of them. These are real people, though. How in the world do they expect to keep 6 million people and counting from telling their stories? I mean, that's pretty bold.
It is pretty bold, but let's remember, Harry Reid is the same guy who in 2012 went out on the Senate floor and without a shred of evidence said that Mitt Romney hadn't paid his taxes for 10 years.
Oh,
and he said,
I
don't have any evidence of it, but the word is out. The word is out. The word is out. Well, you know what? The word is out is that Harry Reid's a liar. And I think the word should be out that any Senate Democrat who follows his lead and carries these talking points is going to have the word former before their names before the end of November.
Do you think the strategy will work for them in some way, though? Because they continue to double down on this strategy, saying that the problems aren't as they're being represented, that voters are going to embrace them in the midterms once this all settles, the dust settles about the rollout, and that people are going to see this is good for them, and that there are positive stories as well. And certainly there are some positive stories, people who didn't have coverage that are getting it. I mean, those people do exist as well.
Yeah, but you know what they said? They said that before Obamacare came into effect, they said this is all just Republican right-wing propaganda. As soon as people see it in action, they're going to love it. Well, you know what? We're 4 months into it, and the polls show that it's dropping in popularity the more people learn about it. I mean, if you've had personal contact with this law, if you tried to navigate that website, if you had insurance you liked and lost it, if you're that Colorado woman in that document you talked about who had her premiums go up 700%, you don't love Obamacare. So their problem isn't with Republicans. It's not with the Americans for Prosperity and their ads. Their problem is with the reality of the law and what people are experiencing day by day.
Well, speaking of those people, Mark, thank you very much, because we're going to talk to one of them now. This week, Senator Mitch McConnell came on the Kelly File to respond to Senator Reid, his comments about everyone being a liar. He talked about one of the Obamacare horror stories.
He basically called my constituent, Angela. Here's a letter I got from her. She lost her doctor. Angela from Owensboro lost her doctor. He basically called Angela a liar. What nonsense. These people all across America who are losing their policies, whose premiums are going up, whose co-payments and deductibles are going up, whose jobs are being lost, are not making this up.
All right, we'd like for you to meet Angela Strobel. She joins us now live. Angela, welcome to the Kelly File.
Thank you very much.
All right, your reaction when you saw the Senate Majority Leader stand on the floor and say that every story that's negative about Obamacare is a lie, including yours.
I was actually shocked. I mean, it's not fabricated. It's not a lie. Our insurance premiums have gone from $348 a month to $1,200 a month, which then forced us to go on our Kentucky Connect website and search for a policy. And then we were told that because we qualified for Medicare, that we had to have Medicare, or Medicaid, I'm sorry. And so because we are put on this Medicaid policy, I've also lost my doctor that I've had for the past 7 years.
All right, you and your husband are self-employed. You were happy with the plan that you had. You have 5 girls. So there are a lot of health concerns and people that you got to take care of and look out for. Is it true now that the situation that you're in is that the closest covered hospital would be 75 miles away from where you live? Is that accurate?
That is accurate. The current policy that they put us on, we live in Owensboro, Kentucky, and we would have to drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky to go to the hospital. And so we are working with Kentucky Connect right now to find a policy that we can actually go to the hospital in our hometown.
I also thought it was very interesting. In your letter, you outlined some religious concerns that you have as well, that you see a doctor who specializes in natural family planning and does not work with things that you would find offensive to your faith. And yet now, because of these changes, that very specialized doctor that you see, you can't see him anymore.
That's exactly right. We border on Evansville, Indiana, and his practice is in Indiana. And because we have Medicaid now, we can't cross the border. And so I called his office and asked him if I could still see him as a private pay patient. And they said that because I have Medicaid, that they are not allowed to take my money, that it would be considered illegal for me to just pay out of my pocket to see my doctor once a year for an annual exam.
Okay, so even with your own money, because of the plan you've been placed on, you're no longer able to just pay out of pocket to see the doctor who shares your religious convictions and your views. Okay, so I understand that your premium went up. It sounds like 3 or 4 times what you were paying. Your deductible is up. You can't see the doctors you want, and the closest hospital is 75 miles away. Does that kind of sum it up?
That does sum it up. And actually, my husband also was turned away from the desk at our local dermatology office, and they had accepted our previous plan, which was put out by Humana. And so what Kentucky Connect put us on is a Humana product as well, but it's backed by Medicaid. And when the doctor's office saw Medicaid on his card, they told him they would not be able to see him, and he had to leave the office without even visiting the doctor for his appointment.
Okay, Angela, you've well documented this. We wish you all the best in trying to find all the best care for you and your family. And Senator Reid may be watching the Kelly File tonight. Who knows? Maybe he TiVos it, but we hope he sees your story. Angela, we thank you for sharing it with us.
I hope so, too. Thank you very much.